Either good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on when you're watching this video. My name is Bill Coyne. I'm running for the Gulf Shores City Council, Place 1. A little bit about my background. I was born and raised in West Texas. Went to high school in Lubbock, Texas. Went to Texas Tech. Spent 6 years in the Navy after that. Went back and finished school and then moved to Birmingham and started my own business there and ran it for 35 years and sold it to my employees. Some of the things that I'm interested in as far as the City Council is concerned, my first and foremost objective is to try to initiate term limits. I feel like there's no reason why anyone should stay on the City Council for 3, 4, or 5 terms. The combined total of the years served at the present council when they finish out this term will be 72 years. I would like to see term limits. I realize that that will take a referendum to be done, but I will try to get that accomplished. Another thing that I'd like to see done, a lot of the streets in Gulf Shores were put in when the subdivisions were put in or when the many years ago and have not been touched since. It's difficult to drive down the street and find a center line on a lot of streets, especially when they're wet. I want transparency. I want the citizens of this city to know what the City Council is doing. I don't want them to have to read the abbreviated agenda that's published each week or every other week. And even if they get the entire packet that the City Council works on, it doesn't explain all the negotiating that has gone on to get to that point. Another thing that I'd like to see happen is that the jail in Gulf Shores, the police station and jail in Gulf Shores, is in really bad need of not repair but demolition. The officers who bring in inmates and try to book them in are subjected to the possibility of being injured physically because there's no way to contain those prisoners when they're booking them in. Thank you very much, and I hope that I can serve you well.
One of the challenges faced by many of our local businesses is finding and maintaining adequate staffing to operate their business year-round. The challenge is complex and changes throughout the year based on our tourist seasons, but a large part of the challenge appears to be due to a lack of educational and training opportunities as well as affordable housing options in our area. Are you aware of these workforce development issues in our area, and how would you help our businesses address these challenges?
Yes, I am aware of those challenges. The housing challenge presents a very specific issue that I think can be addressed. It depends on how the housing facility is integrated into the city, where it's located and so forth, and depending on what type of facility it is, whether it's an apartment complex or whether it's a dormitory type facility. I don't really know the answer to all that because I'm not privy to a lot of the negotiations that go on during the approval or disapproval, which I've not seen a disapproval, but I'm not familiar with the negotiations that go on during the process of approving or disapproving those type facilities. I do know that there is a need for housing in the area so that the employees don't have to travel from 10, 15, 20 miles away to get to work. One solution to that would possibly be to use the BARTA system to transport those employees into the Gulf Shores area and then take them back from that area once that their shift or so forth is completed.
As our local area and economy grows, we need investments to expand and improve existing infrastructure. Such investments include things like better educational facilities, quality healthcare facilities, continued traffic improvements such as new roads and bridges, expanded access to high-speed internet, and better access to our natural resources and public facilities. What infrastructure issues would you like to address, and would you support continued investments to expand and improve our existing infrastructure?
Well, first of all, I will give the present council all the credit for the schools, for bringing the city schools to Gulf Shores. I do think that the city schools need to stand on their own as far as the financing concerned and not paying the shortfall out of the general fund. All right, the internet, as 5G internet becomes more and more available, that's going to lend itself a lot more to a citywide type system, and that will more than likely eventually happen. The infrastructure, we've got lots of limitations as to infrastructure. There's lots of roads that need to be widened but can't because we have approved buildings to be built there. And but we need to, I was told the other day that by 2040, Highway 59 will still be operating at 140% of its rated capacity, which is an F classification, and that's after spending $50 million on the roads.
Large events that are hosted in our area attract hundreds of thousands of visitors that help stimulate our businesses throughout the year. Such large events have been proven to benefit our local economy, but must also be balanced with the local quality of life issues. Do you have a position on the concerns with our area hosting such events that attract such large crowds to our city, and what might you do to address those citizens' concerns?
My one desire is that we would have a citywide referendum and let the citizens answer that question.
What is your position on how the city could balance the desire to encourage economic development with the need to limit certain types of businesses from operating in the city? And more specifically, do you think the city should have a role in controlling access to available food options, such as allowing food trucks to operate within the city?
Personally, I have no objection to food trucks. I know that they have been an issue of contention for a good while, but I don't have a problem with food trucks. I'm very familiar with food trucks. I think there is a place for food trucks, and I don't feel like that the brick and mortar restaurants should, they can either get a food truck of their own or they shouldn't object to other food trucks being in the area.